Bonnie Blue, I'm sure you've heard of her. She's facing up to 15 years in prison, detained in Indonesia, because I guess she was going on a bunch of dudes, and that is illegal in these countries. I could be wrong about this, but isn't Indonesia one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Muslim nation? Let's just double check that. And Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim majority nation with over 200 million Muslims, making up 87% of the total population. Interesting. They do say it's a constitutionally secular democratic state, not an officially Islamic state. Well, I tell you this. When you go to a country that is 87% religious, conservative, be it Muslim or whatever, you think you can pull this off? For those that don't know, Bonnie Blue is the porn star who apparently she over 1,000 guys in 12 hours. I mean, it's hard to believe that actually happened, but yikes. Apparently, when the cameraman walked out of the room, he was almost throwing up from the smell. It's disgusting. Well, here's the reporting. She's apparently in jail right now, and they're not going to release her until January or February. She's going to stay in jail for maybe 2 months because apparently Indonesia is like, listen, it's like Jakarta or something. They're probably not going to put her in prison for 15 years, but they also don't want to be embarrassed because it's a high profile and disgusting incident. So the public's going to be pissed, and they're probably going to be like, we can't just let her go and deport her. There's got to be something. Here's a story from the New York Post. Police in Bali are yet to release additional information following the arrest last week of controversial OnlyFans model Bonnie Blue and 17 male tourists, including 15 Australians, who have since been released on suspicion of breaching Indonesia's strict anti-pornography law. If prosecuted and found guilty under the law, Blue, whose real name is Tia Billinger, and who gained fame for having sex with 1,057 men in 12 hours in a documentary about her career, faces up to 15 years imprisonment in Indonesia and fines of up to 6 billion rupiah, approximately $541,000, which are the maximum penalties. A large cache of items including professional video cameras, mountains of contraceptives and erectile drugs, a small blue ute with the words Bonnie Blue's Bang Bus painted across the front and the side, in addition to the content creator's own Instagram account in which she can be seen soliciting schoolies, teenagers, over the age of 18 for pornographic activities, were seized by police in Bali following a tip-off by concerned citizens. But I'm going to pause real quick to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Backyard Butchers. Check out backyardbutchers.com/Tim, and you can get up to 30% off and, yes, a free turkey or ham. Now, what is Backyard Butchers? It's real rancher-raised beef. No feedlot mystery meat garbage, no chemicals or hormones. Real beef, the way Grandma wanted it to be when she was feeding you as a baby. Kick Big Ag out of your kitchen. Go to backyardbutchers.com. Use promo code Tim. Check this out. The steakhouse box, a 14-ounce T-bone, 13-ounce bone-in ribeyes. Oh, man, that sounds so good. You want to be healthy? You want to eat right? You get real food from real people, real ranchers. This is American tradition, American meat, Backyard Butchers. No chemicals, no garbage. So once again, shout out to backyardbutchers.com/Tim. I recommend it. I'm a big fan of a ribeye myself, but, you know, it's a toss-up. A nice filet, you can't go wrong. You're going to get that free Thanksgiving turkey or ham. Even though we're past Thanksgiving, they're still offering it up. Check it out now. And you know what? Maybe you can get it just in time for Christmas and have something delicious. But now, let's get back to the news. Man, that's wild. But according to Philo Delano, a managing partner at the PNB Immigration, a law firm in Jakarta specializing in helping foreigners deal with Indonesian immigration and legal matters, if found guilty, Blue will probably be deported and banned from ever entering Indonesia again, rather than prosecuted and imprisoned. Quote, she is being detained by the police, which means they can proceed to prosecute her. But in my opinion, if there's an invisible hand that requests she be deported, she can be transferred to the nearest immigration office from where she will be deported from Indonesia. Quote, you know, this type of industry, pornography, there is always someone or an organization that controls it to make a profit. So it may not be straightforward for her to be prosecuted in Indonesia, the immigration lawyer explained. Basically, Someone's about to pay a lot of money to get her out of this jam. I wonder what that means. And I wonder if they knew this was going to happen. Bali is like this hippie tourist spot that basically every millennial and older Gen Z, hippie, hipster, whatever, is like, you got to go to Bali, man. Yeah, and understand the laws of the place you're going to. Singapore is beautiful, but they will whack you with a stick for breaking the law. And if you're a tourist, they'll probably go a little bit easier on you, but they'll also put you to death if you've got drugs. Quote, perhaps that is the reason she came here in the first place, Delano theorized. Because if something bad happened, as it has, she could be deported easily. But now that it's all over the media, the authorities might decide to first let the situation calm down and release her in January or February next year. He added, this is not the first case in Bali where foreigners have been accused of creating pornography content, and the outcome in each case has depended on the strength of the invisible hand behind the foreigners. In September, a 44-year-old American woman identified by the initials JRG was deported from Indonesia after being arrested and detained in Bali for hosting an intimacy mastery retreat at a luxury villa in the Seminyak tourist precinct. The paid class, attended by participants from several countries, included lessons on sexual activity and was deemed to be a misuse of JRG's visa on arrival, which prohibits commercial activities and violates Indonesia's norms and laws. Last year in September, a Ukrainian woman identified by the initials VR and her toddler were deported after VR, who was residing in Bali on a limited stay permit as an investor, was arrested at a villa in Ubud, where she allegedly filmed pornographic content. What is wrong with these people? I guess the thrill of committing a crime in a foreign country adds to the pornography. The list of similar cases goes on and on. In December of 2024 and March of 2023, several Russian nationals involved in prostitution and or commercial sex work were arrested in Bali and deported for violating their residence permits. Yikes. One of the most high-profile cases took place in May of 2022, when Russian yogi influencer Alina Fazlieva and her husband were deported and banned from re-entering Indonesia for 6 months after Fazlieva posed nude for photographs on Kayu Putih, a giant 700-year-old tree behind Babakan Temple that is holy to Balinese Hindus. However, Christ Andi Ricardo Turnip, SH, a lawyer with Malakat Hukum International Law Firm in Bali, said Blue may not simply be deported. Quote, in my opinion, as a legal practitioner, any foreign national suspected of violating law number 44 of 2008 concerning pornography can be prosecuted in Indonesia. Turnip told news.com.au. This is based on the principle of territoriality, namely that every person who is within the territory of Indonesia is obliged to submit to Indonesian law without exception. Here is Bonnie Blue, of course, in, I guess, some kind of weird scarf. If proven to have created, displayed, or distributed pornographic content in Indonesia, the perpetrator may be charged with a threat of imprisonment of up to 12 years. Under certain conditions, law enforcement officials may also apply the ITE law, Indonesia's primary legislation governing electronic information and transactions, or decency provisions in the criminal code. He explained, adding that the police decision could go either way. If the evidence is strong, the case can be processed through to criminal court. But if it's considered more appropriate from an administrative standpoint, yes, the government may just carry out deportation through the immigration authority. Here we got a top comment. She's bleh and not too bright either. When in Indonesia, do as the Indonesians do. I remember years ago, some kid got caned in Singapore for making graffiti. That was the penalty under law. Not all countries are like the USA. Now, the question is, should this woman be criminally charged, arrested for banging these dudes and filming it in Indonesia? Yes, she should. Should she go to prison? Yes, she should. I think look, I'm not going to sit here and say maximum penalty. Listen, nations are sovereign and they have their own laws. You are a guest in someone else's country. You go there and you do this, you face the repercussions. I've always been cognizant of this every time I go to a foreign country. I was in Thailand, where they have a law called lèse majesté. You can't insult the king or repeat an insult to the king for any reason. Now, I'm in America, so I'm not super worried about going back to Thailand, but I'll put it like this. I will cite I'll give you, here we'll do. So I avoid offending the Thai. I will not talk in any way about the Thai royal family. Instead, I will talk about Princess Bubblegum. Or how about we do Princess Buttercup? That's always a good reference. If you were in a lèse-majesté country and said, I think Princess Buttercup is a scumbag, you're under arrest, even if you're a tourist. Here's what gets crazier. Let's say you're a tourist and you see someone's getting arrested for saying Princess Buttercup is a scumbag. And then someone comes to you and says, why is that person arresting you? And you go, that person said Princess Buttercup was a scumbag. You're under arrest too. Repeating the slur also violates lèse-majesté. You want to go to those countries? You got to understand their laws and what those people want because you don't lord over them. Go back to your own country. See, I like the idea of people having their own nations and their own laws. Now, the question is, should Bonnie Blue be arrested for what she has done in these United States? That is banging 1,057 men. Actually, I don't even know if that was in the United States. Let me make sure. I think it might have been the UK. Bonnie Blue bang 1,000 dudes in the US. That might have been somewhere else. So the question is still remains. If no, she didn't. It was in the UK. Right. That's what I thought. It was in the UK, not the US. The question is, for the United States, should we make it illegal to do some kind of porn stunt like this? And I know the liberals are all going to come out and they're going to say, no, we shouldn't do that. She's allowed to say what she's allowed to do what she wants. It's America. We have freedom. She wants to bang a bunch of guys and do porn. I don't agree. I'm not a staunch conservative, right? I'm not going to come out and say porn should be illegal or porn is bad. I do think it should be regulated and restricted. More of a liberal in that sense, less a libertarian. However, I got to be honest. You see, if you came to me and it was like 2008 and you said, do you think that like brothels should be legal and regulated? It's safe. The women are clean. I'd say, man, that's tough, but I don't have a good argument as to why I should restrict a practice like this. You know, I disagree with it, but if two consenting adults want to engage in a certain activity, they can do that with or without money. I don't know how money changes the game, right? Well, now we're looking at a woman who banged 1,000 dudes in half a day. And now I'm like, stop, shut it down, lock it all up, because we've reached that point, the slippery slope. This is as bad as it gets or worse. So therein lies the bigger issue. While I would be like, look, within reason, and then here we are. You go back to gay marriage. Look, people can marry who they want to marry, just keep it private. We don't. And now they're teaching children about sodomy in schools. Yikes. I guess the bigger picture is, what is wrong with this woman? I'm going to go ahead and say daddy issues. But what's wrong with these men? What's funny is like, would any of these actual guys want to marry her? If you're like a low value male, yeah, probably you'd say, I'll do anything for you. You're so pretty. I think any man with self-esteem is going to go, ugh. Not interested. I saw this post on Reddit. This woman said that, actually, I think it was from like Reddit Lies. Like they repost things from Reddit. And they said it was a woman. She was like, I told my I think it was her husband, my full body count, to be honest. And now he's disgusted by me and won't look at me. And she was like, he asked me and I thought being honest was important. So I said 28. And he immediately got disgusted and was reviled. And now he keeps saying, I'm disgusting. It's disgusting. I can't believe you would do that. 28 different guys. Well, this lady did 1,000. 1,000. And I don't know if it was her because I think it was her and some other woman did something similar to this. This is the degeneracy and the decay of social order. And it's insane that this is monetizable. So again, all things in moderation, I guess. If you come to me and say, what if it's like somebody wants to go to a brothel in Vegas and it's like, man, you hear these stories about a guy who like pulled up to pick up a woman. He wants to go bang her and she wants money. And it's like, it's legal if he picks her up and drives her to a hotel and doesn't pay her. It's illegal if he gives her the money. Because the reality is this. The moment you legalize prostitution, you get Bonnie Blue. It's a slippery slope. So a line is drawn, a barrier set, and we say, this is the point at which we're going to say, we're not going to allow this. And therein lies the challenge. If you are tolerant and say, live and let live, two consenting adults want to do whatever they want with each other, who am I to judge? What do you do now when you have 1,000? And why is that a problem? Well, this is the next slippery slope, and I'm going to say, like, this is the line, right? This is going to rapidly destroy social order. It's going to warp the minds of young men in an already socially decaying infrastructure and society. It's going to be amplified through the porn she produces. There are plenty of good reasons as to why we say, yeah, filming you bang 1,000 guys in 12 hours is well past the line. So there's the liberal and conservative debate. Conservatives are going to say, no, we can't allow prostitution. It'll get worse. And liberals, old school ones like me are going to say, as long as we regulate it and restrict it, some of it is fine. And I got to be honest. Imagine a guy pulls up to a woman in a car and he goes, hey, you're pretty. You want to go on a date? And she goes, sure. She gets in the car and he says, now you're my girlfriend. And I always take care of my girlfriends. Then they go in a hotel, they do their dirty deed, and he goes, I'm going to give you an allowance as my girlfriend. Here's $200. Spend it on whatever you want, babe. Now they're going to be like, nah, it's prostitution. Oh, hold on. It's a fine line, isn't it? And I understand the law is always interpretation. The point I'm making is there's very easy loopholes. You can just be like, we're going on a date, and I'm going to date you, and you're my girlfriend now, and you're allowed to give your girlfriend money. So it's like there's a fine line. And that's why I'm like more libertarian-ish. It's like if two consenting adults are hanging out in their bedroom, be it two dudes, two ladies, or a dude and a lady, that's where we were with gay marriage. But then once it starts becoming a public spectacle, it's burning social order down. I'm like, stop. We can't have this. It's bad enough we got young people are cracked out already. This is making things exponentially worse. And imagine where it goes from here. Animals are next. I would not be surprised if these people start doing this crackpot stuff. So I'd say, send it back. We got to go back. No more of this. All right, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We got more coming out throughout the day, and we'll see you all in the next segment.